Redditors who have been in such severe and enduring physical pain that they honestly would have clicked an insta-death button. What was the cause of your pain? A colony of ants biting my testicles when asleep. Woke up to a set of gigantic balls. And I'm assuming sweet too. How would you know unless you tasted them? Obviously, the ants told him. Crohn's disease. Had it for 10 years now, and they have been 10 pain-filled years at that. When I was diagnosed, I'd lost nearly half my weight in a couple weeks and was in so much pain daily. Took years to get to a point where I could look ahead with any sort of hope. If you don't mind me asking, are you able to say what hurt the most and what treatments helped you to get through the worst part? I'm currently going in and out of the hospital and the doctor was suspecting Crohn's/IBS. I'll probably find out in a month or so. A staph infection that rupture inside my spine, eating the bone. Go on. Well, it took a few days for the docs to figure it out, an awful few days. I wanted to die. Pain meds, maxed out, didn't cut it. Once they discovered the infection, a priest came to visit me, just in case. They told my family to come visit if they could, just in case. Then I had surgery to remove a quarter of my thoracic spine. Doctors said my two likely outcomes were dying on the table or being a paraplegic. I'm happy to say I bounced back 100%. A kidney stone. Still have that little death rock. There's a chronic disease that feels like passing a kidney stone constantly. I have it. I feel this in my soul. Edit, loin pain hematuria syndrome for the interested. The cause is the aorta tube spasming. That's what happens when the stone gets stuck with hydronephrosis. In LPHS it just doesn't stop. Also, a mini AMA below. Sorry for mobile formatting, I try. I'm so sorry you have this. I wish you well, stranger. Migraines. I've read stories of people boring holes in their heads for relief, and I understand why. I've, luckily, only had one migraine ever. I ended up in the ER after vomiting all afternoon and through the night. I remember just wanting to pop my eyes out with spoons to relieve the intense pressure/pain. The ER docs gave me something through and for that made me freezing cold and tired. I fell asleep and when I woke up I felt a million times better. I would never wish that on anyone. Thank goodness for medical science. I got that shot. I was super cold, like my bones were dipped in ice. I didn't get tired, I got wired and paranoid and twitchy. Also my head still hurt, didn't touch the pain. Took me a couple days to feel better. The migraine didn't go away, and the meds made me feel shitty too. I only went to the ER cause my husband thought I was having a stroke. Nope, just a migraine. Migraines suck so hard. I'm glad you've only had one, and I hope you never have another. Migraines. Had a period of about 3 years where I'd get one that completely knocks me on my ass for 2 to 4 days at a time. I missed a lot of work, tried tons of medications, got CT scans, nothing fixed it until I moved out of my mom's house. Haven't had a single one since that day, somehow. Thanks, Mom. Mold? Side effects of chemotherapy, an acute infection and diarrhea. Had the worst pain while moving, sitting, lying down, not to mention actually using my butt I ever experienced. Took heavy painkillers but the pain didn't go away. Thought it would never be over. 10 days of pure hell. Edit to clarify, when you get certain types of chemo your mucous membranes can get inflamed. This is pretty common. I didn't know you had them down there too. I was in hospital because I caught the flu while having a non-existent immune system. The diarrhea hell went on for like 10 days, and about 5 more were endurable. Chemotherapy and radiation therapy took in total about 6.5 months. Damn, that must be awful. Glad you're still with us. Food poisoning. I woke up from a dead sleep at 3 a.m. with what felt like a knife in my gut and then spent the next 4 hours on the toilet wishing for death. Same exact feeling, but it lasted about 7 hours. I felt like someone stabbed me in the chest. 5 of those 7 hours I was in my bed in fetal position trying to ease the pain. When my appendix went on me. I remember thinking it was awfully strange that the pain from surgery was pretty okay compared to what I went in for. I had a similar experience with my gallbladder. Like an idiot, I waited way too long to actually go see a doctor. By time I did, I was in so much pain that I was begging for surgery or death. After they removed it, I was up walking after the anesthesia wore off and never took a single painkiller. I was so relieved to have it out that I didn't even notice any post-op pain. Oh, that brings back the worst memories. For several years I would have brief periods of the most intense pain, like fetal position and throwing up levels of pain. Then they would let up and I would procrastinate getting checked out. 2 years ago I woke up in the middle of the night feeling like I couldn't take a deep breath. Then pain hit and got so bad I finally went to the puked on the floor and begged for them to just knock me out with anything they could. The surgeon said he'd never seen an angrier gallbladder and I spent 3 days in the hospital with a drain sticking out of me because there was so much infection and nastiness that needed to come out. The pain was far worse than my 37-hour labor with my first son. Testicular torsion. Thought I was dying lol. My god, that sounds painful. Yeah. Worst pain I've ever felt. 10/10 would not recommend lol. Just got out of double knee surgery. My knees just kept cramping and the pain was absolutely horrible. I don't even know how to explain it. Worst thing was my mom refused to give me the painkillers until after an hour of me crying. Why the fuck didn't your mom give you the painkillers? After double knee surgery? Christ. I had hip reconstruction surgery and my mom didn't either. She was worried I'd get addicted to the narcotics. Giving birth. I have very low tolerance for pain and epidural wasn't effective. Everything was supposed to be ready for the pushing and the baby really wanted out. Then my previously fully dilated cervix decided that there is still time to go back. WTF, it can do that? My foot was cut off and reattached. There were so many times that I just wanted to die. The pain of that is almost unspeakable. I had a buddy that got ran over by a boat. Mangled his leg but they were able to save it. He's been talking for years about having it removed because of the pain. People sometimes get phantom pains even if the mangled limb is removed. After some time, the pain settles in the brain and stays there forever, but you can use special techniques, tricking the brain to unlearn the pain and live without it. If anyone's interested in this phenomenon, V.S. Ramachandran wrote an awesome book on it called Phantoms in the Brain. Anal fissure, which is a tear in the meat of your anus. Sometimes it heals on its own, sometimes you end up like me and injure yourself every time you use the bathroom. I have dislocated a knee, broken fingers, had an appendicitis, and got a chemical burn on my scalp, but nothing compares to passing out on the toilet. And while I have you, let me just say, use lube. Saliva is not lube and don't allow your partner to ram it in like a stewardess trying to get your oversized luggage to fit into the storage compartment. I don't care how amorous you're feeling, stop, think, and protect the butthole. Scrolled too long to find anal fissure. As a colorectal surgeon, my fissure patients are among the most distressed of my patients when I first meet them and the happiest and most grateful of patients when they are fixed. PSA everybody. Keep up your daily fluid and fiber intake and always go for a poo when you feel the urge. These things will help you out for more things than fissures. Appendicitis at 10 years old. I thought it was my first period. I've heard of appendicitis being mistaken for period cramps before and it blows my mind that they could be that bad. I've got endometriosis and PCOS, and some months my cramps are nearly as bad as kidney stone pain. Also have those, not quite as bad, but horrible, and we're just expected to go along with our lives like periods are fine. It's not like US work has enough sick days to cover monthly excruciating, debilitating pain. I had an abscess in 2 of my teeth at the same time, while we're on a farm in the middle of nowhere for a weekend away. I then also took too many paracetamol to try and stop the pain, which made it feel like my blood was boiling. 0-10 would not recommend. I've broke both my feet, have ulcerative colitis and rheumatoid arthritis, and have been stabbed 6 times in the back. Put all of that pain together and it still doesn't come close to when I broke a tooth and got an abscess in it. One day while eating, my tooth just fell apart due to my wisdom tooth growing into it and cracking it. Because of my medical conditions, I'm on immunosuppressants and there's only a 1-week window every 8 weeks I can have dental surgery. I needed the tooth removing and the day came but they cancelled. I had to wait another 8 weeks with an exposed tooth and during that time it got infected. I can't take anti-inflammatories and before long my whole face was swollen up, but I still had a week to wait. It was so painful and just consumed my life. It's all I could think about and it was constant. I'd rather get stabbed again than go through that again. I hear you on that. I could barely make it through 2 days, kudos for surviving a whole week. Warning, graphic. When I was 11 I got an infection in my penis. Turns out the foreskin is supposed to be able to be pulled back, which mine physically couldn't. So I got circumcised. Bear in mind my foreskin had never been pulled back, so what is arguably the most sensitive part of the male anatomy was now permanently exposed for the first time. When I slept my entire bell end would scab over, including the hole, and every morning for around 2 weeks when I went to urinate my penis would begin to inflate, cracking the scabs until the scab on the end eventually burst open. I warned you. Oh my fucking life. Endometriosis. Dry socket. In 2 spots. At the same time. I've had 4 children, C-section vaginal, broken bones, ruptured ovarian cyst. Nothing compares to dry socket. Had that, it was painful, but the scraping of the bone the doctor did, even with the local anesthesia, was the pain I will never forget. Double lung collapse combined with a double kidney infection. I've given birth 3 times and that was a walk in the park by comparison. I could feel myself dying. Spoiler, I didn't. Walking up after brain surgery was pretty fucking awful. I had an 11/10 headache, I felt like I'd just been hit by a truck, and they had a hard time stabilizing me. I felt like I was freezing to death and my blood pressure was low, then I felt like I was on fire and my blood pressure went to normal, and this repeated in what felt like 10-minute cycles for what felt like days but was more likely a few hours. I threw up about a liter of blood and other fluid. I felt incredibly weak despite being relatively strong-ish. Nothing I did helped me feel better, and it wasn't really the pain so much as how uncomfortable I felt. I have a fairly high pain tolerance, but I have a really low uncomfortable tolerance. I would have absolutely chosen death at that moment without question. I'm glad I didn't have that option though, because being alive is alright. It was all because of a pituitary tumor that caused me to be a giant, but I'm only 7 tall. I'm a shitty giant. TL doctor, had a pituitary tumor removed, it was less that awesome. As someone under 5 feet 2 inches I consider you to be a fantastic giant. Wisdom teeth. Had to get them removed because the roots were touching the nerves in my jaw. Super painful for 4 years until I finally gave in and got them removed. Couldn't eat without wanting to cry. For 4 years. You wouldn't believe what people put up with as normal. I had a routine physical one time and the doc asked me if I had any pain. I responded, oh, just the normal amount of pain. The doctor stopped, looked me dead in the eye, and said the normal amount of pain is 0. Yes, she put extra emphasis on the 0, the thought had never occurred to me. Gallstones which had been misdiagnosed for years. By the time I had my gallbladder removed, a flare upward of me literally rolling around on the floor in agony. Apparently they're the closest a bloke can come to experiencing the pain of birth, but I've no idea how that's quantified. I had a tooth infection that made me want to end it all. I didn't realize how horrible it could feel. Thank goodness for modern dentistry and antibiotics. Antibiotics didn't alleviate mine, nor painkillers. It took an emergency root canal to take care of that pain. Worst thing I've ever felt. Also, one dentist told me to cool it down with ice water. I ended up freezing the nerve, then had to allow it to thaw. That was pain unimaginable. I sometimes feel some pain under belly button and deeper in, feels like my guts are twisting inside and tearing apart, like black hole sucking in my intestines. If I would live alone, I would scream as loud as I could, but I always bite a stick or handle of knife and silently snort, sitting on knees and beating my shins. I do it to redirect the pain, to change the focus of mind to shin, just weathering the storm. It comes about once in month, so I can say I visit hell regularly. Do you have a uterus? Might be an issue with it. I hope you can find some relief somehow. I don't know your pain, I just know my uterus causes me massive pain because I refuse to give it a baby. I wish I could cut it out. My period. I passed out from pain. Doctor told me to take a bath. I know exactly how you feel. 8 years I've been struggling with severe period pain. 8 years of being fobbed off and told to go on contraception that doesn't help or to take a warm bath, unamused face. Food poisoning. I was literally on the floor, screaming and writhing in pain. Boyfriend called 911 because we didn't know what it was. While he was on the phone, I puked everywhere and it was a long night of stuff coming out of both ends. A long night. Orgies, anything stomach pain related is really bad. I might change my mind after reading all the other awful comments though. Bone disease. I had tumors the size of chicken eggs in me, which is saying a lot considering I'm 85 pounds. 12 hours after C-section when I wake up and had to pee and morphine worn off. I had to stand, do a couple steps to bathroom, sit on toilet, bend to put pants on, because I'm idiot and forgot to keep them high, and go back to bed to lay. I almost threw up from pain. Nothing ever hurt that much. I've blocked this pain from my memory after 3 C-sections. That second day pee was just unbearable all 3 times. I felt like I had literally been sawn in half and had to somehow not come apart. My third was in the NICU and they wouldn't send a goddamn wheelchair for me and I walked there on the second day. I must have been delirious or high on mom hormones or something because it just seems so unlikely that I made it there, but I did. A bone tumor tearing apart my shoulder. It was inside the joint, so any movement of any sort would cause the tumor to rub against the muscle, causing damage. I had one of those as well. HME? I had osteoid-osteoma. https://orthoinfo.aus.org/n/diseases/conditions/osteoid-osteoma. Overall, very low risk of being problematic. It simply formed in a horrible spot.